Part 22. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Ju. Chapter 211. I looked at the old man's happy and expectant look, and couldn't bear to dampen his good mood anymore, so she just let him have fun. The next day, with the permission of the old man and the old lady, I flew to Sioux City in person, made an appointment with Shen Tianxing, and discussed with her the cooperation in beauty and skincare products. When Shen Tianxing saw that I was so sincere in coming to Sioux City to find her in person for this cooperation, she also expressed a warm welcome. After listening to I explain her purpose, Shen Tianxing also said to her sincerely, "Auntie, it's okay to cooperate on this matter, but I have too many things here, so I can only provide some formulas and monitoring when it comes to quality. You may be solely responsible for other things, is that okay?" When I saw that Shen Tianxing agreed to cooperate, she said happily, "No problem, I will be responsible for the funds, venue, and management. You only need to be responsible for the product and quality. As for the net profit, after deducting the company's expenses after that, how about you split 70% and we split 30%? Chen Tianxing couldn't help but feel a little shocked when he heard that I actually said the division method of 3 for them, 7 for her. They were showing favor and offering benefits, and Shen Tianxing couldn't just take the benefits so calmly. She smiled slightly at I and said, "Auntie, my share is 70% too much, let's split it half and half." Seeing Shen Tianxing being so humble, I felt more favorable towards her. She smiled and said, "It's not a 50-50th split. Before I came, our old man and my old lady reminded me time and time again that they can cooperate with you, but they can't bully you. The share they give you must not be lower than 60%, otherwise, the old man and the old lady will beat me when I go back." When Shen Tianxing heard that the old man and the old lady were still protecting her, her heart felt warm again. She also smiled softly, "Then I'll be shameless and take 60%. I also said cheerfully, "Okay, then we will give you 4 points and 6 points. This is the contract. Can you see if there are any problems first? If there are no problems, you will sign your name. After we sign the contract, while we formally organize the manpower to start the project, you can also start developing products that can be put on the market." After Shen Tianxing read the contract and made sure there was nothing wrong with it, she picked up the pen and signed her name. I also signed her name and took out the official seal she had brought with her. The seal was stamped on the spot. She received one copy for herself and gave another copy to Shen Tianxing to keep. I said happily, "Xiaoxing, I hope we can have a happy cooperation." Shen Tianxing smiled and nodded, "Of course you can. As long as nothing happens on their side, there will definitely be no problems on her side." After signing the contract, I couldn't wait to catch the next plane and flew directly back to the capital to get busy. Seeing that she was so nervous about this cooperation project, Shen Tianxing felt embarrassed to be lazy. She also began to study the use of real-life medicinal materials and use her formulas to produce these beauty and skincare products. She wanted to see the effects of using medicinal materials from outside and the effects of using medicinal materials in the space and adding spiritual spring water. How much difference will there be? After a whole week of trial and error, Shen Tianxing finally came up with several satisfactory formulas. Although it is not as incredible as what she made in the space, the effect can definitely beat those high-end beauty and skincare products on the market now. I's factory has been completed, but the equipment and related scientific research personnel are not yet in place. She told Shen Tianxing that she could go to Jingcheng later to conduct finished product testing. Shen Tianxing didn't care. She wasn't busy recently and could leave at any time. On this day, when Shen Tianxing was preparing to go home, he suddenly saw a ghost help station at the ghost help station. There was a little male ghost who was only 4 or 5 years old. Judging from his pale face and blue lips, he should be a ghost who died of illness. Shen Tianxing used his consciousness to scan his body again, and sure enough he found that there was something wrong with his heart. He died of congenital heart disease. Does this kid still have any unfulfilled wishes? Still staying in the human world? Shen Tianxing asked Yan Wenzhen to stop the car again and walk to the ghost help station. She asked the cute kid huddled in a corner in a gentle voice, "Kid, why are you here? Do you have any unfulfilled wishes and want to come here for help?" The cute kid looked into Shen Tianxing's eyes. After knowing that she was talking to him, he suddenly became happy and said, "Miss, can you help me realize my wish?" His voice is delicate and crisp, and it sounds nice. Shen Tianxing smiled at him and said, "Yes, what is your wish? You can tell your sister, maybe she can help you." The cute kid's little face fell instantly. "Little sister, I want my parents to be happy again. After my mother died, she cried every day. She cried so much that my heart was broken. I saw it. So sad, I can't bear to leave my mother. I really want to tell her that I will always be with her." Shen Tianxing tried to reason with him, "But you are dead now and your mother is still alive. The dead and the living cannot be together. If you hang around your mother every day, your mother will also get sick, will die too. Do you want to see your mother die like you?" The cute kid quickly shook his head and said sadly, "I don't want my mother to die. I just want my mother to be happy and stop crying for me. Little sister, I really want to live. As long as I live, my mother will not I will cry again." Shen Tianxing asked him again, "Then do you know where your parents are?" The cute kid nodded fiercely, I know, my parents are still in the hospital now, and my mother is sick. I heard the doctor said that my mother seems to be pregnant with a baby again, but her health is not good, and she needs to be raised in the hospital. Miss, if mommy has a baby, will she not want me?" Seeing the sad expression on this cute little kid's face, Shen Tianxing sighed softly, stretched out his hand to rub his little ghost's head, and said to him gently, "No, even if your mother has another baby, you are still here. She will never be replaced in her heart, and she will always remember you." A trace of confusion flashed across the cute kid's face. "Really? Will mommy love me forever?" Shen Tianxing answered him affirmatively, "Yes, she will love you forever." After a while, the cute kid seemed to have figured out something, and an innocent smile appeared on his face again. "Sister, I'm going back then. I want to go back to see my mother. I want to tell her, don't cry for me no more and live happily." Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 212. Shen Tianxing felt sorry for this little boy inexplicably. He is so sensible. At such a young age, he knew he cared for his mother and just wanted his mother to live a happy life. Shen Tianxing smiled and said to him again, "Then I'll take you back. What's your name?" The cute kid looked at her, grinned and said, "Sister, my name is Yu Zion. My parents call me Hung Hung. You can also call me Hung Hung." Shen Tianxing chuckled, "Okay, I'll call you Hung Hung too." Yu Zion took her hand and said, "Sister, let's go." "Okay, let's go." Shen Tianxing led him back to Yan Wenzhen's car and said to Yan Wenzhen, "Wenzhen, let's go to Su City First People's Hospital first." Just now, Shen Tianxing had used his clairvoyance to see the causes and consequences of Yu Zion's death, and he also saw his mother, Zhang Weiwei, lying on the bed in the inpatient department of Suzhou First People's Hospital with a melancholy look on her face. The haggard-looking man accompanying him should be Yu Zion's father, Yu Zhiban. At this time, Yu Zhiban was holding Zhang Weiwei's hand and gently advised her, "Weiwei, our Hung Hung is such a sensible child. He will definitely not want to see you like this. You have to adjust quickly, and he will be happy if he lives happily." The only thing Jiang Wei thought of was her miserable son, and her tears fell again. I'm sorry. I just miss Hung Hung, I can't let him go, I really can't let him go, woo. Seeing his wife crying like this again, Yuz Hibin sighed softly while helping her wipe her tears. Wei, think about it, our Hung Hung just left, and we found out that you are pregnant again. Maybe our Hung will be reincarnated as our son. Hearing Yuz Hibin's words, Zhang Weiwei's eyes lit up and her tears stopped instantly. You are right, Hung will definitely be reincarnated as our son. This time, we must give him a good body. Yuz Hibin saw that his wife's expression had become more fighting spirit and less sad, so he quickly followed her words and said, yes, so don't cry. If you keep crying like this, it will be bad for you and the child in your belly. No, we have to happily raise the baby and wait for Hung to be reincarnated in your belly and become our little son, so we can be a family again. How wonderful it is. Shen Tianxing looked at the scene from the sky, his heart was sour, but he felt warm at the same time. This couple is very loving and good to their children. Although Hung had heart disease, they did not dislike the child and always loved and cared for Hung with all their heart, so that he could receive the best care and let him deeply feel the warmth, care, and love from his parents. This is also the reason why Xiao Hung is reluctant to leave them and lingers on the world and refuses to leave. This kind of family affection is very touching. Shen Tianxing also wanted to help them, to give their family a chance to become a family again, and to fulfill their beautiful wish. Shen Tianxing held Xiao Hanghang's hand and knocked on the door of Zhang Weiwei's ward. The ward where Zhang Weiwei lives has 3 beds, but 2 of them are empty now, and Zhang Wei is the only one living here. It's better if no one else is around, and it makes it easier for Shen Tianxing to do things. Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei looked at Shen Tianxing, who was full of spiritual energy, and asked in surprise, who are you looking for? Shen Tianxing smiled at them, my surname is Shen, others call me Tianqi Shen. I was invited here by your son Hung. Your son Hung said he wanted to see you again. Do you want to see him? Hearing Shen Tianxing's words, Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei were both shocked. What did you say? Hung invited you here. Shen Tianxing nodded, it was Hung who came to find me. He said that he was worried about you. Seeing his mother crying for him every day, he couldn't worry about you either. When Zhang Weiwei heard this, she sat up excitedly and wanted to get out of bed. Where is my Hung? Where is he? Yuz Hibin quickly held her down. Wei, don't get excited, let's listen to Master Shen Tiansheng slowly, okay? You sit down first, sit down. Shen Tianxing couldn't help but sigh when he saw Xiao Hung who had thrown away her hand as soon as he entered the ward and rushed towards his mother. She said to Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei, now I will temporarily open your heavenly eyes so that you can see Hung, and you can also talk to Hung. However, Hung must go down and be reincarnated as soon as possible, otherwise, he will staying in this world for too long will not be good for him or you. When Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei heard that they could see their son, they were so excited that they nodded repeatedly, okay, thank you Master Shen, thank you. Shen Tianxing reached out and brushed Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei's foreheads. Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei instantly saw their precious son looking at Zhang Weiwei nervously and calling her mom. Hung, my Hung. Zhang Weiwei couldn't help but opened her hands to hug her son, but found that her hands had passed through her son's body and she could no longer hold him, and she couldn't help crying. When Xiao Hung saw his mother crying like this, he couldn't help but shed 2 lines of crystal tears. Mom, don't cry, stop crying. Mom, I just begged the little sister, and I still want to be your son, may I? When Yuz Hibin and Zhang Weiwei heard their son's words, they immediately looked at Shen Tianxing with surprise on their faces. Master Shen Tianxing, is what Hung said true? Can he still be our son? Shen Tianxing smiled and said, if you all have this desire, I can help you and be attraction on your souls. After Hung Hung is reincarnated, he will naturally return to you. Yuzhiban immediately bowed deeply to Shen Tianxing, then I'll thank Master Shen. Shen Tianxing nodded and said gently to little Hung Hung, do you have anything else to say to your parents? Hurry up and finish your words. My sister will send you down to be reincarnated. Then you can enter again in your mother's belly, you no longer become your father and mother's son. Uzian blinked his big eyes, looked at his parents in surprise and said, Dad, Mom, I'm going to reincarnate first, you have to wait for me to come back. Yuzhiban and Zhang Weiwei both nodded sharply and said, Son, we are waiting for you to come back. Hung Hung, Mother is waiting for you. You must remember to come back and be your mother's son again. Xiao Hung Hung also nodded vigorously, yeah, I remember. After saying that, he looked at Shen Tianxing again and said with trust, Sister, do I want to leave? Can I really come back to my mother's belly again? Shen Tianxing smiled and nodded, it's true, believe me, sister, okay. Xiao Hung Hung nodded cutely, okay, I believe in sister. Shen Tianxing stretched out his hand to pinch the magic formula, and put a pulling thread on the souls of their family of 3. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 213. After Uzian descends to the underworld, the underworld messengers below will see that there is a traction thread tied to his soul, and they will know that the 3 of them are still related. After registering, they will send him to reincarnation directly. Yuzhiban, Zhang Weiwei and Uzian also saw the thread tied to their souls, and they all felt relieved knowing that they could be a family again. Shen Tianxing smiled and said to them again, okay, now I'm going to send Xiao Hung Hung to the underworld to register and be reincarnated. Xiao Hung Hung, are you ready? Xiao Hung Hung glanced at his parents again. After seeing their parents nodding and encouraging, he bravely said to Shen Tianxing, Miss, I'm ready. Shen Tianxing warned again, then I'm going to start, little Hung Hung, no matter where you are, you have to be a brave child, you know. Uzian nodded vigorously, little sister, Hung Hung understands. Seeing that he was really ready, Shen Tianxing recited the rebirth mantra. The door to the underworld slowly opened, and Xiao Heng Heng's figure slowly walked there. Seeing their son disappear into the gate of the underworld, and the gate of the underworld also disappearing in an instant, Yuzhiban and Zhang Weiwei shed tears again. Shen Tianxing comforted Zhang Weiwei and said, Mother Hung Hung, don't worry, little Hung Hung should be back in your belly soon. What you have to do now is to take good care of your body and give little Hung Hung a healthy body, this child is really heartbreaking. Zhang Weiwei wiped away tears and nodded in response, Master Shen Tian, don't worry, I will take good care of myself and wait for Xiao Hung Hung to come back. Yuzhiban bowed to Shen Tianxing again, Master Shen Tianxing, thank you so much. Shen Tianxing smiled softly and said, you're welcome. It's our fate that Xiao Hung Hung found me. By the way, you can donate the money from today's ritual to the Xingzi Charity Foundation. As for how much to donate, it's up to you. I run this Xingzi Charitable Foundation. If you have anything to do in the future, you can come to me at the Xingzi Charitable Foundation. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Yuzhiban responded quickly, okay, I will send the money tomorrow. Master Shen, I will take you out. No need to send it off, goodbye. After Shen Tianxing finished speaking, he flashed and disappeared into the ward. Yuzhiban and Zhang Weiwei's eyes widened, and the couple looked at each other. Afterwards, the couple both felt lucky, and Yuzhiban said with emotion, we have met a god. Zhang Weiwei also had tears in her eyes, nodded and said with emotion, I didn't expect that our Hung Hung family would be so lucky. It's so good, so good. After Shen Tianxing disappeared from the ward, he appeared directly in Yan Wenzhen's car. Let's go back to Jingxia Garden. Even though Yan Wenzhen was used to her elusiveness, he was still startled by her. After a while, he responded, yes. Seeing Yan Wenzhen's frightened look, Shen Tianxing couldn't help but chuckle. Wenzhen, you still need to practice your courage. Yan Wenzhen nodded yes. She really needs to practice her courage, otherwise, if she is following such a powerful master, it won't be a big deal for her to be scared like this all day long. If she can't keep up with her boss all day long, she might be fired by her boss one day. Back at Jingxia Garden, Shen Tianxing asked Yan Wenzhen to rest by herself. She also entered the room, placed a barrier to prevent intruders, and then slipped into the space. She came in relatively late today, and Dugu Zixi was already waiting for her in the space. Seeing her appear, Dugu Zixi hugged her out of habit and gently asked, Xiao Xing, why did you come in so late today? Shen Tianxing told him about meeting Xiao Hung Hung. Dugu Zixi chuckled softly, I really didn't expect that you would be so interested in meddling in these mortals' business now. Shen Tianxing glared at him angrily, I'm not doing this just to accumulate more merit. If we want to return to the immortal world in the future, it will be easier to overcome the tribulation and ascend. Besides, since God gave me the eyes of the gods, if I don't do anything, I'm sorry for God's love for me, don't you think so? Dugu Zixi kissed her forehead gently, you are right. We should thank God and accumulate more merits so that God can bless us for a long time and be happy forever. Shen Tianxing murmured, yes, we will be happy forever. After the two were intimate, Shen Tianxing handed over the samples and formulas to Dugu Junmei to Dugu Zixi. Zixi, please help me give these finished products and formula to my aunt, and ask her to keep this formula well and never let anyone take it away. Dugu Zixi took it and said, okay, I will hand it over to her and give her instructions. How about you come with me to find my aunt? Shen Tianxing shook his head, I have something to do these 2 days and I can't leave. The Jinbi County orphanage that Liu Yang is responsible for has been rebuilt. I have to go and take a look in person to feel relieved. Dugu Zixi immediately said, then I will go with you. Shen Tianxing shook his head and chuckled, no need, I'll just go over and take a look. I'll come back as soon as there's nothing wrong. It'll be done very quickly. It can be done in 1 day. Dugu Zixi looked at Shen Tianxing and said helplessly, oh, my wife is too capable, and there is no place for me to use her skills. How can I defeat her? Shen Tianxing chuckled and said, who dares to say you are useless? Let's see if I don't beat him to death. Dugu Zixi loved her protective little expression so much that he hugged her face, kissed her fiercely, looked at her lovingly and said, my little star, when will you grow up? I can't wait any longer. Shen Tianxing felt that he was almost drunk to death by his affectionate eyes. For a long time, he just stared at him dreamily and didn't know to reply. When he wanted to kiss her again, he was suddenly thrown onto the sofa by her. She pressed him under her in turn, teasing him without fear of death, Master, does it feel good to be so intimate? Dugu Zixi was about to fight back, but Shen Tianxing flew out in an instant. In the hall, only her clear and cunning voice was left, Master, I'm going to practice, cluck, cluck, cluck. Dugu Zixi shook her head helplessly and smiled bitterly. There's really nothing he can do about this girl. The next day, Shen Tianxing asked Yan Wenzhen to rest at home. She controlled the flying sword alone and went to Jinbi County to inspect the rebuilt orphanage. Liu Yang was very happy when he knew that Shen Tianxing was coming. Early in the morning, the newly recruited managers were asked to clean up the office of the orphanage to welcome their little boss. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 214. When Shen Tianxing arrived at Xingzi Orphanage in Jinbi County, he did not show his body immediately. Instead, he remained invisible and sneaked into the orphanage quietly. She wanted to see how well these children were being taken care of. Is good. Still not good. Shen Tianxing didn't expect that she would actually see a problem when she saw it. In a special classroom for disabled children, there was a deaf-mute child about 5 or 6 years old who burst into tears for some reason. And when Shen Tianxing looked at the unfamiliar female caregiver, who was probably only about 18 years old, instead of comforting the crying child, she rushed directly to the deaf-mute child and yelled, "You little bastard, stop crying, it's annoying, you know that? If you still cry, believe it or not, I'll beat you to death." When the deaf-mute child saw the female caregiver's ferocious look, like an evil spirit, he was so frightened that he trembled all over. Not only did he not stop crying, but he cried even louder. What made Shen Tianxing even more angry was that instead of reflecting on her attitude, the female caregiver actually raised her hand and slapped the deaf-mute child hard on the face. "Ah! Don't hit Xiaoi! You bad woman!" All the children in the special classroom for disabled children were so frightened by this terrifying female caregiver that they screamed. Shen Tianxing was also furious. He used his qi to stab the female nurse's wrist with his needle. The female caregiver instantly screamed in pain, "Ah ah ah, my hand hurts so much." Her hand hurt, but she knew she had to run out and find a doctor to see her. It's a pity that if Shen Tianxing hadn't released the qi that sealed her veins for her, it would be useless for her to find a doctor. She would keep hurting until she felt worse than death. Among the people Shen Tianxing hates most are these child abusers. As the old saying goes, in the beginning, human beings are inherently good. Most children are innocent, kind, and innocent at first. In a normal environment, ordinary children can grow up well and will not become perverts or scum with twisted personalities. Except for those children who have been crooked or taught badly by bad elders since childhood, or who have been subjected to abnormal cold violence and abuse during their growth, etc., only children who grow up in a distorted environment will create this child. Twisted life. Some of these disabled children in the orphanage are deaf and mute, some have cerebral palsy, some are missing arms and legs, some have burns, and have congenital heart disease. Only a few of the normal children are abandoned, and most of them have body parts. Only children with disabilities will be abandoned by their parents. When they were born, their lives were already destined to be rougher and more tortuous than those of ordinary people, and if they were abandoned by their parents, it would be even worse. If there is no orphanage for them to live in, they may die in any minute. These kids are pathetic enough. She, Shen Tianxing, was willing to spend so much money just to build a warm harbor for these poor children so that they could have a better environment to grow up. If they are physically disabled and mentally strong, and if they are well trained, they may become outstanding talents in a certain field in the future. But what kind of scum are the caregivers hired by their orphanage? A female caregiver could be so cruel, beating and scolding these poor children? If all the caregivers hired by the orphanage are like this, then what's the point of everything Shen Tianxing has done after spending so much manpower and money? At this moment, Shen Tianxing's inner anger soared into the sky. For the first time, she had doubts about Lu Yang's provocative eyes. Shen Tianxing remembered that the treatment and wages she gave to the orphanage caregivers were comparable to the wages and benefits of regular hospital workers. With such superior conditions, she did not believe that she would not be able to recruit people to work. Like the female caregiver just now, she seems to be a person of low character at first glance. How did she end up in the orphanage? Is it a human relationship? Or did you come in through the back door? Although Shen Tianxing was full of anger and confusion, when she saw the children who were still crying in fear, she suppressed the anger in her heart and appeared in the corner with a kind expression on her face. Smiling, he walked into the classroom for disabled children. After entering, Shen Tianxing introduced himself to the children with a smile. Hello, children. I am your sister Shen. Sister Shen can do magic. Do you want to see it? The children may have just experienced the violence of the female caregiver. Each of them looked a little lethargic and listless, and they did not dare to respond to Shen Tianxing's questions. They just stared at her blankly, as if he looked like he wanted to speak but didn't dare. When Shen Tianxing saw their appearance, his heart felt painful again. Shen Tianxing raised her smile again. This time, her voice was filled with soothing spiritual power, and she said softly to them, "Look, sister can conjure up a lot of delicious things. This is chocolate. Someone want to eat?" At this time, a child finally raised his hand weakly and said, "Sister Shen, I want to eat, is that okay?" Shen Tianxing smiled and nodded at him. "Okay, come on, I'll give you this chocolate." Shen Tianxing also peeled off the chocolate and brought it to his mouth. He smiled softly and said to her, "Come, tell sister, what is your name?" The child answered quietly, "My name is Xiaojiang." Shen Tianxing smiled slightly, stretched out his hand and rubbed his head. "Xiaojiang, a nice name, Xiaojiang, you must be strong from now on, come on, eat." Xiaojiang took the chocolate and glanced at the friends around him who also wanted to eat. Xiaojiang said to Shen Tianxing sensibly, "Sister Shen, can I share the chocolate with them?" Shen Tianxing's heart moved and he smiled at him, "Little Jiang is so good, you can eat this." "Sister, we still have it here. Everyone can have a piece, okay?" At this time, the children's voices were much louder than before. "Okay." Shen Tianxing secretly paid attention to the deaf-mute child named Xiaoai who was crying just now, and found that he also stopped crying. Although he still burped from time to time, he finally stopped crying. He also looked at Shen Tianxing with curious and wet eyes. Although Xiaoai is a deaf-mute child, he is very good-looking, with dark, big, and round eyes. Shen Tianxing was also impressed by his innocent appearance. He walked up to him again, took out a chocolate, and teased him with a smile, "Your name is Xiaoai, right?" As Shen Tianxing spoke, he used sound transmission to penetrate into Xiaoyi's mind, letting her voice ring directly in his mind. Xiaoai suddenly heard Shen Tianxing's voice and was very surprised. His round eyes widened with surprise, but he still remembered to nod in response to Shen Tianxing's question. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 215. A warm smile appeared on Shen Tianxing's face, and he peeled the chocolate carefully, then brought it to his mouth, and said softly to him, "Come on, eat it. It's sweet and delicious." Xiaoai glanced at her, shyly reached out to take the chocolate, took a bite, and slowly tasted it with his tongue. He found that it was really sweet, and this young lady didn't lie to him. He smiled and rolled his eyes, making a sign to Shen Tianxing, "Miss, it's really delicious." Shen Tianxing reached out and rubbed his head, a flash of pity flashing in his clear eyes. Next, Shen Tianxing gave each child in the classroom a piece of chocolate. She bought these chocolates, as well as many snacks and toys, and stored them in the space to use them to coax the children. Unexpectedly, they actually came in handy. The children were very happy to have something to eat. After hearing the cry of the female nurse Hua Chenyan, Lu Yang, a group of office staff, and several nursing staff who hurried over were all stunned when they saw Shen Tianxing handing out chocolates to the children. There. After they knew that Shen Tianxing would come today, they had been waiting for Shen Tianxing's arrival, hoping to leave the best impression on Shen Tianxing. But who knew that Shen Tianxing would be so unreasonable and sneak in quietly, and let her see the scene of Hua Chenyan's violence against the child. Lu Yang's heart was pounding, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. She stepped forward cautiously and shouted respectfully to Shen Tianxing, "Boss, why didn't you notify us that you were here? Shen Tianxing glanced at her indifferently. If I didn't do this to you, would you have seen the caregivers you recruited violently against these children? Lu Yang, please explain to me, that Huachanyan, how did you get recruited? Although Shen Tianxing is young, once the monk's pressure is unleashed, it can make Lu Yang and others tremble with fear and break into cold sweats as if they were facing an ancient ferocious beast. Lu Yang almost wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy, but she knew that Shen Tianxing didn't like people without pride, so she gritted her teeth, insisted on standing, and replied to Shen Tianxing, "Boss, I'm sorry. This matter is mine. It wasn't done well. Huachanyan is the niece of the village chief Huakun. He hinted to me privately that if I didn't accept his niece, our orphanage would never be able to open smoothly in their village. Go down, I can't help it, so I accepted her." Shen Tianxing snorted coldly, "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Lu Yang said, "I thought." Shen Tianxing smiled coldly and reprimanded her mercilessly, "Do you think you can handle it alone? A few threats from a scumbag can make you compromise. How can I dare to let you do big things in the future?" Shen Tianxing has high hopes for Lu Yang. But maybe the more high expectations she placed, the more disappointed she felt when she failed to meet her expectations. Lu Yang was also a well-known wealthy man and a man who had seen the world. How could such a small village tyrant be able to make her give in and compromise with just a few words? When Shen Tianxing thought of this, Shen Tianxing calmed down again and asked her in a deep voice, "Is there anything else that you didn't tell me?" Lu Yang glanced at the people around him. Shen Tianxing understood and directly waved his hand to set up a barrier around the two of them. Then, she said to Lu Yang with a serious face, "Just tell me, they can't hear it? No matter what you have to say, tell me everything, don't hide a word, as long as it's something we don't care about, no matter who wants to get involved, I will chop off their claws." Hearing Shen Tianxing's sonorous and powerful words, Lu Yang seemed to have found her backbone, and she quickly told Shen Tianxing one by one what happened when she was planning to build the new Xingzi orphanage here. After hearing this, Shen Tianxing became furious. It turns out that Xingzi Charitable Foundation's heavy investment in Xingzi orphanage made many people think that Xingzi Charitable Foundation is a fool with too much money, and they regard Xingzi Charitable Foundation as a big fat piece of meat. Who knows? Everyone wants to take a bite. In the previous Love Orphanage, there was no money, no one, and the children did not even have enough to eat. Except for a small number of kind people like Tang Kinki's family of 3 who would help these orphans, most people regarded the Love Orphanage as a plague. For fear of getting contaminated. But now, the current Love Orphanage was renamed Xingzi Orphanage after it was taken over by Xingzi Charity Foundation. Lu Yang posted a job advertisement, and the treatment and benefits were so good that it made people jealous. Now everyone wanted to rush to work in Xingzi Orphanage. But Lu Yang always reported it to his father-in-law. It wasn't until Huakun, the village chief and village leader, came to the door that Lu Yang felt a headache. At first, Lu Yang would definitely not agree, but she found that after she rejected Huakun, there were troubles in the orphanage all day long. Either things were lost, or the orphans were beaten when they went out to play. This time too many times, Lu Yang could not remain suspicious. At this time, Huakun came to the door again and proposed that his niece Huachanyan come to work. The threat in his words made Lu Yang temporarily choose to compromise. Lu Yang originally thought that since Huachanyan came to work in the orphanage, she would always behave accordingly, right? But who would have thought that the elders in this family were rotten seedlings, and what they would grow would be crooked melons and inferior jujubes. Huachanyan was not only lazy but also aroused the dissatisfaction of other nursing staff. She would also beat and scold the children from time to time. Just when Lu Yang was thinking about how to deal with her without offending Huakun, Shen Tianxing had already arrived. The main reason Lu Yang didn't dare to tell Shen Tianxing was because he was afraid that Shen Tianxing would think she was incapable of working and couldn't even handle such a small matter, and then fire her. Unexpectedly, the longer this matter is delayed, the more serious it will become. It's fine now. Hua Chenyan did something evil and was caught by Shen Tianxing. Lu Yang really wanted to hit the wall now. After listening to everything Lu Yang said, Shen Tianxing really hated the iron. She sighed softly and said to Lu Yang, "Lu Yang, to be honest, I am really disappointed in you." Lu Yang cried instantly when he heard Shen Tianxing's words. She also knew that this incident would become an indelible black history in her career. But she also felt a little aggrieved in her heart. It was not easy for her to face these scum alone. It was not easy for her to deal with these scum. Why didn't her boss understand her? Shen Tianxing seemed to know what she was thinking. A trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Her pretty face sank, and she said sternly to Lu Yang, "Lu Yang, you don't even know how to find such a big backer like me. Instead, you mess around on your own. Not only did you let Hua Chenyan into the wolf, in this sheepfold where the orphans were orphaned, you delayed the solution, and in the end, led to a more serious violence. If I had not arrived in time today, that Xiao I would have been beaten by Hua Chenyan again. You still feel aggrieved now? I think you should slap yourself a few times." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 216. Lu Yang was so trained by Shen Tianxing that his head almost dropped to the ground. The cold sweat on his face and the tears in his eyes merged together and fell to the ground drop by drop. Soon, there were two people underground. Small water circle. Before, every time Shen Tianxing faced her, she always had a friendly smile on her pretty face. Lu Yang always thought that Shen Tianxing had a good temper. This was the first time she saw Shen Tianxing being so harsh to her. This shows how disappointed the master is with her performance. Lu Yang didn't know how to describe her feelings. She felt aggrieved, hated herself for not living up to expectations, and felt that Shen Tianxing was too disrespectful to her. She had been working here alone for so long. She had no credit, but hard work, right? Don't these masters see it? Shen Tianxing felt a little uncomfortable when he saw that Lu Yang, a strong woman who had always been cheerful and capable, was reduced to tears after being scolded by him. She withdrew the barrier and said to Lu Yang and the others, "You should go and do what you are supposed to do. I will fire Hua Chenyan immediately. As for Hua Kun, I will handle it myself. I want to take a look. How powerful can a small village official be?" The dozen or so office workers and nursing staff newly recruited by the orphanage did not take it seriously when they heard Lu Yang say that the boss was just a teenage girl. They thought that the rich second generation came to do charity and have fun. That's all. But now that they saw the domineering and majestic Shen Tianxing, they knew they were wrong. In their eyes, Shen Tianxing at this time has no age limit at all. They felt that they were not facing a teenage girl, but an elder who had been in a high position for a long time. Shen Tianxing's powerful words rang in their ears, making them instinctively feel fearful, trembling, and wanting to surrender to her. As soon as Shen Tianxing finished telling them what to do, they all quickly turned around and left as quickly as if they were being chased by ghosts. Even Lu Yang couldn't stand Shen Tianxing's pressure and the discomfort and sadness in her heart, so she left. Seeing that they were all gone, Shen Tianxing slowly turned around and looked at the children who were looking at her curiously. She raised a smile and asked, "Children, do you still want to see Sister Shen do magic?" The children responded loudly, "Yes." When she exerted pressure just now, she avoided the children's side and only rushed towards Lu Yang and the staff. Therefore, these children are not afraid of her, but are looking forward to what other magic tricks Shen Tianxing can perform. Shen Tianxing happily looked at these children who were more energetic and lively than before, and replied with a smile, "Okay, sister, I want to ask you, do you want your sister to conjure up cakes to eat? Or conjure up small toys to play with?" "Sister Shen, I want to eat cake." "Sister Shen, I want a little toy." Looking at the children with different needs, Shen Tianxing smiled softly and said, "Then Sister Shen will make a big cake first, okay?" The children shouted happily, "Okay." Shen Tianxing opened her slender hand, and a 3-layer cream fruit cake weighing about 5 pounds appeared in her hand. The children's eyes were all wide open in shock, and their little faces were full of excitement and excitement. The next moment, they all cheered, "Wow, young lady is so great. Sister Shen, you are so amazing. Sister Shen, can we learn magic from you? Sister Shen. Sister Shen." Shen Tianxing listened to the voices of so many children in her ears, chirping like little sparrows. She raised her hands and waved to the children, "Children, can you be quiet for a moment?" As soon as she spoke, those children stopped talking and looked at her with innocent and pure eyes. Shen Tianxing smiled and said to them, "Let's eat the cake first. This cake was made by my sister. It's delicious. Who wants to eat it? Can you raise your hand?" The children raised their hands one by one. "Sister Shen, I want to eat." "Sister Shen, I want to eat too." "I want it too, I want it too." Shen Tianxing smiled and placed the cake on the table, then conjured a long knife and dozens of paper plates out of thin air. Shen Tianxing smiled again and encouraged the children, "Is there anyone willing to come out and help sister carry the cake?" Several children aged 7 or 8 immediately raised their hands and said, "Sister Shen, I am willing." "Sister Shen, I can do it too." Shen Tianxing waved to them, "Okay, just you guys, come up and help sister. Other children, come over and line up to get the cake. Children who can't move around, don't worry, you just sit there, sister. I will ask my brother or sister to deliver the cake to you." Shen Tianxing cut the cake into small pieces and asked the 5 children who came up to share them with other children. This is a cake she made using space materials. It is many times more delicious than the cakes sold outside. After each child took the first bite, some exclaimed, "This cake is so delicious." Some children didn't care to talk and just wolfed down their food. Shen Tianxing looked at these children with pity in his eyes, and said to them with a gentle smile, "Eat slowly, don't be in a hurry, after you finish eating, there is still here, you can have another piece." Shen Tianxing treats these children with the utmost love and patience. She hopes that she can bring them some warmth and love, so that they can feel the kindness and beauty of the world, so that they will not feel darkness and despair. She suddenly remembered the song Devotion of Love, the lyrics of which read, "There is no longer a desert without heart, no longer a wasteland of love, even death is far away, the flowers of happiness are blooming everywhere, ah, as long as if everyone gives a little love, the world will become a better place." This song was once sung in the 1980s and 1990s. At this moment, Shen Tianxing felt that the lyrics represented her inner expectations and hopes for the world. If finances allow, if there are more kind people like Tang Kinki's family, and everyone can lend a helping hand to help these poor children, then these children can live a good life. Of course, this is only Shen Tianxing's expectation and hope. It is very difficult to achieve it. Shen Tianxing can only make himself a benchmark for doing good deeds, hoping to lead more people to do good deeds. As strong as you are, you can do great things. As a human being, you just need to have a clear conscience. "Sister Shen, I want to have another piece, is that okay?" A soft voice interrupted Shen Tianxing's meditation. Shen Tianxing looked down and saw a thin and petite girl. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 217. The name tag hanging on her body read her name and age, Xiao Yurong, 6 years old. When these children were sent to the orphanage, when Tang Kinki and the others were managing these children, those whose names were left behind were called by their original names. If there is no name, the surname will be that of the director of the orphanage. For example, Xiao Qiang is a child adopted during the Tang Kinki period, and his name is Tang Qiang. Shen Tianxing smiled and put another piece of cake for Xiao Yurong, and reached out to rub her little head. Xiao Rong, eat slowly. Xiao Yurong gave her a shy smile and said sweetly, "Thank you, Sister Shen." Shen Tianxing praised her again, "You're so good. Go and eat." Xiao Yurong nodded and returned to her seat. "This child is thin, small, and pale, and he looks pitiful." Shen Tianxing used his clairvoyance to examine her body and found that she had chronic myelogenous leukemia, which required long-term medication control or stem cell transplantation in order to be cured. While these children were eating cake, Shen Tianxing opened his eyes again and checked the bodies of all the children. What made her angry was that she saw more or less scars from whipping or bruises made by pinching out fingers on the bodies of these children. If this abominable child abuse incident were to be exposed, the first person to bear the brunt would be none other than Shen Tianxing. If we talk about it according to conspiracy theories, it may even involve Dugu Zixi and the Dugu family. What Shen Tianxing didn't expect was that her guess at this time turned out to be a prophecy. Let's talk about Hua Chenyan. After Shen Tianxing used spiritual energy to seal the acupuncture points on her wrists, her hands had been hurting, making her miserable. Hua Chenyan immediately found Lin Zheng, the new doctor at the orphanage. But Lin Zheng checked again, but still couldn't find the cause of her illness. Lin Zheng could only say to her, "Hua Chenyan, I can't find out the cause of your illness here. You'd better go to a big hospital to have a look." Hua Chenyan was so painful that she wailed and begged, "Dr. Lin, can you give me a pain-relieving injection first? I'm really going to die from the pain, wu." When Shen Tianxing punished her, he was hidden, so Hua Chenyan didn't know why her hand hurt. She didn't even know it was Shen Tianxing's punishment method for her. Lin Zheng had no choice but to give Hua Chenyan a pain-relieving injection, and then went to ask Lu Yang for instructions on what to do about this matter. After Lu Yang heard this, she could only send a car from the orphanage and a female caregiver, Lu Yang, to accompany Hua Chenyan to the People's Hospital of Jinbi County. It was also at this time that Lu Yang realized belatedly that Shen Tianxing had already arrived at the orphanage. Hua Chenyan suffered a hand injury and went to the People's Hospital of Jinbi County. The doctor used all kinds of instruments, but still couldn't find anything wrong with her hand. The doctor could only tell Hua Chenyan truthfully, "Ms. Hua, we can't find anything wrong with your hand. I'm sorry, but we can't do anything." Hua Chenyan yelled, "You quacks, I spent so much money on examination, but you tell me that there is nothing wrong with my hand? What international joke are you kidding? If there is nothing wrong with my hand, how can it hurt like this? I don't care, you can either cure my disease or refund my examination fee." When the doctor encountered an unreasonable patient like her, he looked helpless. "Ms. Hua, we really can't see anything wrong. Why don't you go to the hospital in the city for a checkup?" Just when Hua Chenyan was about to curse again, the effect of the pain-relieving injection Lin Zheng had given her had begun to wear off, and her wrist began to tingle again. Hua Chenyan held her right hand and started wailing, "Oh, my God, I'm starting to hurt again, doctor, please think of a way for me quickly. If the pain continues, I really can't help it alive, it hurts me to death, it hurts me to death." When the doctor saw Hua Chenyan, she started to feel pain. It was so painful that tears and runny nose came out. Her body was so painful that she knelt on the ground. And her loud wails and screams of pain also attracted many family members and patients with minor illnesses who lined up to watch the fun. The doctor felt a headache and could only say to her, Then let me give you a pain-relieving injection first. Hua Chenyan nodded repeatedly, fight quickly, fight quickly, fight quickly, if you don't fight, I'm really going to die, Wu. The doctor could only give her another painkiller injection. After the new analgesic injection took effect, Hua Chenyan felt less painful. She quickly said to the female colleague Lu Yang who came with her, Yang, please help me call my uncle and ask him to go to the orphanage to ask for money. After he gets the money, he will come to the hospital to find me. Here the quack doctors don't think it's good, so I'm going to the city for a checkup. Lu Yang asked her to wait in the hospital while she went outside to make a phone call. Lu Yang was still a little clever. She didn't call Hua Kun directly, but first called Lu Yang back to the orphanage. Lu Yang heard that there was nothing wrong with Hua Chenyan's hand in the hospital, but it hurt her so much that she was dying. The doctor couldn't cure it, so he could only give her an analgesic injection first, which temporarily stopped her pain. I had a bad feeling right away. She thought of Hua Chenyan's child abuse, and then thought of Shen Tianxing's various mysterious methods, and Lu Yang suddenly shuddered. This is clearly the work of Master Shen. Master Shen is using this method to punish Hua Chenyan. Seeing that Lu Yang didn't reply for a long time, Lu Yang asked her anxiously, Dean Lu, what should I do now? Should I call her uncle as Hua Chenyan said? Lu Yang came back to his senses and quickly said to her, don't call her uncle yet. Stabilize her first. I'll go ask the boss. You wait at the phone booth for a while, and I'll call you back later. Lu Yang responded obediently, okay, then I'll wait here. After Lu Yang hung up the phone, he went to find Shen Tianxing. At this time, Shen Tianxing was using magic to treat the children. She felt sorry for these children and couldn't bear to see them suffer from illness anymore. Even if she does this, people will discover that she has magical medical methods, which will attract countless people's attention to her and cause countless troubles. However, she felt that all these troubles were nothing compared to these fresh human lives. She doesn't mind being exposed as long as these kids are healthy again. She is a serious immortal cultivator. If she can't solve these troubles in the secular world, she might as well hide in the mountains and forests and never come out to see others. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 218. When Lu Yang came over, Shen Tianxing had just treated Xiao Qiang's congenital heart disease. Congenital heart disease is a very difficult and serious disease for ordinary doctors. But in the eyes of people like Shen Tianxing, who has entered the semi-immortal realm and has magical methods of cultivating immortals, it is a very simple disease. If she wants to cure these children, she will only consume a little spiritual energy. After listening to Lu Yang's report, Shen Tianxing's cold eyes also shone with a hint of coldness. She didn't think much and directly ordered Lu Yang, you ask Lu Yang to call Hua Chenyan's uncle and ask them to come and get the money. You can let go and let the Hua family make trouble. You can give them as much as they want, When the time comes, I will let them have the life to take the money but not the life to spend it. Go ahead. Lu Yang couldn't help but shudder again when he saw the sneer on Shen Tianxing's lips. She found that the aura of Master Shen was really becoming more and more terrifying. Lu Yang didn't dare to say anything, he just bowed his head and said, I understand, and quickly left. After she came out, Lu Yang discovered that she was sweating again on her back. After returning to the office, Lu Yang followed Shen Tianxing's instructions and called Lu Yang back, asking her to tell Hua Kun truthfully about Hua Chenyan. As for what Hua Kun would do when the time came, she told Lu Yang not to worry too much and just stay close to Hua Chenyan. Lu Yang added a few words at the end, Yang, don't worry, you are on a business trip today, your salary will be paid as usual, and all expenses and meals will be reimbursed. Lu Yang was really worried before, fearing that if she followed Hua Chenyan around for a day, her salary would be deducted, and she would have to pay phone bills, car fares, etc., in which case she would cry. Now with Lu Yang's words, she could finally follow Hua Chenyan with confidence. After Lu Yang hung up Lu Yang's phone, she called her uncle Huacan at the phone number Hua Chenyan wrote to her. As soon as Huacan heard that Hua Chenyan was working in the orphanage, his wrists suddenly started to hurt. When he heard the words that Hua Chenyan asked Lu Yang to convey, Huacan had a dark idea in his heart. Huacan thought about how he could use Hua Chenyan's incident to extort money from the orphanage. He was still thinking that last time Lu Yang could give in to him so easily and let Hua Chenyan work in the orphanage. This time, as long as he takes a tougher attitude, Lu Yang will definitely give in to him as easily as last time. Yield. When Huacan thought about this and thought about being able to extort a large amount of money, he felt inexplicably excited. He had never thought that there was something really wrong with Hua Chenyan's wrist. He thought that his niece, who had obtained his true inheritance, was also playing tricks and wanted his cooperation to extort money. Huacan immediately called 6 young men in the village and accompanied him to the orphanage to ask for Hua Chenyan's medical money. And Lu Yang was just as he expected. Hua Kunchaizi asked for 50,000 yuan, and Lu Yang gave it to him without saying a word. Lu Yang also said to him with a smile, "If the money is not enough, just come back and get it." Seeing Lu Yang giving the money so readily, Huacan regretted it in his heart. If he had known that Director Lu of this orphanage was so generous and easy to extort money, he would have directly asked for 200,000 yuan. However, now Lu Yang has said that if it is not enough, he can come back and get it. Ha ha ha, it seems that God wants him to get rich. Lu Yang looked at Huacan's excited look and guessed what he was thinking, and a sneer flashed in her heart. If you take something that is not yours, you will have to pay a huge price. Greedy people never end well. Of course, Lu Yang would not remind him, and would just watch him go further and further on the road to death. After Huacan got the money, he took 2 young villagers and ran directly to Jinbi County People's Hospital with the money bag. They found Hua Chenyan in the observation room of the emergency department. As soon as Hua Chenyan saw her good uncle coming, she immediately threw herself into Huacan's arms and cried coquettishly, "Uncle, my hand hurts so much. The quack doctor here checked it for a long time and said that my hand is fine. He said it was not good and asked me to go to the hospital in the city to see it. Can you go with me?" Huacan touched her head with pity and said with endearment, "Okay, I'll go with you. Let's go now while it's still early." Hua Chenyan said coquettishly, "Okay." Lu Yang looked at the uncle and niece, and looked at their intimate appearance. They didn't look like uncle and niece, but like father and daughter, which felt a little weird. But she didn't say anything, just stood silently and pretended to be the background. When Huacan and Hua Chenyan were about to take a taxi to the city, Lu Yang thought of Lu Yang's instructions and wanted to get in the taxi. But the taxi could only seat 4 passengers. Huacan didn't want Lu Yang to follow him, so he asked Lu Yang to go back. Lu Yang had no choice but to follow them, so he could only watch them get into the car and drive away. She called Lu Yang again to report the situation. Lu Yang didn't say anything and asked her to come back first. Huacan took Hua Chenyan to the city's People's Hospital for a checkup, but nothing was wrong. But seeing Hua Chenyan's excruciating pain after the analgesic injection wore off, even the doctors felt strange and puzzled. They wondered what the problem was with her hands. There was a female doctor who had seen some strange people and strange things. She muttered to another doctor colleague nearby, could she have offended some master and been tricked by him? Another doctor saw Huacan's fierce look and looked towards them. He immediately tugged on the sleeve of the female doctor and whispered, "Don't talk nonsense." But what they said was still heard by Huacan. Huacan shouted sharply, "What are you talking about? Say it to me again." Huacan's appearance is originally tall and strong, with a fierce look on his face. The female doctor glared at him and was so frightened that her legs almost gave out. She quickly waved her hands and said, "I didn't say anything, I didn't say anything." Huacan stared at her coldly. "Say what you just said again." The female doctor turned pale with fright, and her voice trembled as she spoke. What are you talking about?" Huacan reminded her with a gloomy face, "It's those words you said before. Say them to me again. Do you want to say it? If you don't say it, I'll beat you up." The female doctor was frightened by this, and said with a trembling voice, I mean, she must have offended some master, and was tricked by him, right? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 219. After hearing what the female doctor said, Huacan seemed to have thought of something, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Huacan immediately turned to look at Huachanyan, and asked her with a calm face, "Yanyan, please tell uncle, have you offended some master?" When Huachanyan saw Huacan's serious face, she felt frightened and uneasy. She endured the pain in her wrist, tried hard to think about it, shook her head, and said with tears, "I didn't offend anyone. During this time, I have been in the orphanage." Huacan asked again, "Then why did your hands start to hurt?" Huachanyan replied with tears in her eyes, "Today there was a little brat in the yard who kept crying. I was very upset, so I wanted to slap him a few times, but before I could hit his face, my hands suddenly started to hurt. I couldn't bear the pain, so I ran out to see the doctor in the hospital. As a result, the doctor in the hospital said he couldn't cure it, so he gave me a painkiller injection, and then I went to see Director Liu, who sent someone to see me. The car took me to the hospital. Uncle, you also know what happened next." When Huacan heard her say that the pain in her hand occurred in the orphanage, she felt that he must be overthinking it. At Yanyan's level, they had no way of contacting people at that level. They and those experts are as far apart as heaven and earth, with no possibility of intersection. Maybe, he really thought too much. After Huacan thought about it, his heart that was a little flustered suddenly calmed down again. He looked at the doctors with an annoyed look and cursed loudly, "You quacks, you can't see the disease well, so you just come up with excuses here. You quacks, idiots, useless things." The doctors and nurses were scolded bloody by him, but when they saw Huacan's face looking untouchable and as if he was going to beat someone up at any time, they didn't dare to argue with him, so they could only burst into anger. But he could only hold it in his heart and feel angry secretly. When Huacan saw that these doctors were silent, he became even more arrogant and kicked the stool over. With a boom sound, the doctors and nurses trembled in fright. Huacan also pointed at them and cursed loudly, "I'm telling you, find someone to treat me quickly. If your city hospital doesn't cure my niece's disease today, we will stay here without leaving. A little you can't even cure the pain in your hands, and you don't even know how you became a doctor? A quack doctor who only knows how to ask for money." Those doctors were so scolded by Huacan that they lost their temper. Faced with his unreasonable behavior, they could only go and find someone. The female doctor on duty quickly reported the situation to the department director Shi Yuming, and the department director Shi Yuming reported it to the Dean Wu Changsheng, asking the Dean Wu Changsheng to think of a solution. "What should we do in this situation?" After hearing the report from the department director Shi Yuming, Wu Changsheng, the director of the Municipal People's Hospital, was so angry that he slammed the table. "Director Shi, to deal with such scoundrels, call the police immediately. Let the police handle it, see how arrogant he is." The director of the department looked helpless and persuaded tactfully, "Dean Wu, if we call the police, we can at most just educate him and then come out. Looking at the vicious look of this family member, what if he comes back to take revenge on us? Wu Changsheng said angrily, then what do you think we should do? You have a way, so why are you asking me? The director of the department said with an apologetic smile, that's right, Dean, that patient's condition is indeed very difficult. It just looks like a pain in her hand, but we have checked it with all the instruments and still haven't found anything wrong with her. It seems to be fine. Take a look. Could you send a few more experts over for consultation? When Wu Changsheng heard this, he immediately cursed in anger. Who are they? What qualifications do they have to ask for expert consultation? Besides, can they afford the money for expert consultation? Shi Yuming, before you speak, can you think about it for me first? Shi Yuming, the director of the department, was scolded and looked disheveled, but in order to keep his job, he could only pretend to be a grandson in front of the dean. Dean, aren't I afraid that the family will keep making trouble? I don't think they are people who have no money for medical treatment. Besides, if they are allowed to continue making trouble like this and make the matter bigger, it will not be good for our hospital. It will also affect the reputation of our hospital, don't you think? When Wu Changsheng heard what Shi Yuming said, it made sense after thinking about it. He thought for a while and then said, okay, I'll call Director Xing from the Department of Traditional Chinese Medicine to come over and see what's going on. Shi Yuming was overjoyed after hearing this. Okay, thank you Dean, thank you Dean. The more people come to watch, the more people will share the responsibility. This also proves that it's not that Western doctors like them are stupid or incompetent, but that Hua Chenyan's strange hand pain disease really doesn't know what's going on. Director Xing of the Department of Traditional Chinese Medicine came over quickly. Director Xing is 58 years old and has been a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner for decades. Although he works at the People's Hospital in the city, because traditional Chinese medicine is in decline and many people don't believe in traditional Chinese medicine, not many people go to him to see traditional Chinese medicine, so he is still quite free. As soon as Dean Wu Changsheng called him, he explained it to his assistant and came to the emergency department. When Shi Yuming saw Director Xing coming over, he was happy that someone was sharing responsibilities with him, but his face looked very heavy. He held Director Xing's hand and said to him sincerely, Director Xing, we are really serious here, there's nothing we can do about it, I'm begging you. Director Xing waved his hand towards him, can you tell me what's going on? Shi Yuming explained Hua Chenyan's situation to him again. When Director Xing heard that Hua Chenyan's hand pain could not be detected with instruments, he had several conjectures in his mind. He has studied Chinese medicine for decades, and the level of Chinese medicine is indeed very high. In order to confirm his suspicion, Director Xing stepped forward and took Hua Chenyan's pulse, and found that the pulse in her wrist was indeed blocked, as if her acupuncture points had been sealed by a martial arts master, which was why she was in constant pain. Director Xing withdrew his hand and said directly to Hua Kan and Hua Chenyan, her illness, it can be said, is not a disease. The pain in her hands is because the master has blocked the muscles and veins. The muscles and veins are blocked, and her hands are naturally it will hurt. As the saying goes, one needs to tie the bell to untie it. Think about it carefully, who has this girl offended? Find that expert and apologize. Otherwise, we really can't cure this here. Sick. When Hua Kan and Hua Chenyan heard this, the uncle and niece immediately looked at each other. The director of the Department of Traditional Chinese Medicine said exactly the same thing as the female doctor just now, saying that she had offended an expert. But she really didn't know which god she had offended. Dominating the Powerful Families, Rebirth of the Strongest Divinator. Author, Long Juyu. Chapter 220. Seeing that it had taken a whole day and she had taken 3 pain-relieving injections, and the pain-relieving injection was about to expire, Hua Chenyan burst into tears and was filled with confusion. She didn't know what to do. She grasped Huakan's arm as if grasping a life-saving straw, and cried out, "Uncle, uncle, what should I do now? I don't want to die in pain like this, please save me, please." Huakan's face was also very ugly, but he still comforted her softly, "Yan, don't worry, uncle will definitely find a way to save you and cure you." Huakan was thinking in his heart while talking. If what the female doctor said just now, he could think she was talking nonsense, but now, this old Chinese medicine doctor seems to be capable, and even he said so, then it can only be said that their Yan is real. It's possible that she had offended an outsider without knowing it, so she was secretly punished by the expert. But no matter what, this expert must be found. If they don't find it, even if they want to apologize, they don't know who to apologize to, and how can they cure Yan's hand? Of course, the average uncle would not be so concerned about his niece. But this Huachanyan was the girl he gave birth to after Huakan raped his sister-in-law. Although she was a niece, she was his biological daughter and his only daughter besides his two sons. Naturally, Huakan doted on her. And he is particularly interested in her. President Huachanyan's current appearance is inseparable from Huakan's support and connivance towards her. Huakan thought about what Huachanyan had said to him before, and suddenly he had an idea and made a guess in his mind. He asked Huachanyan directly, "Yan, is there any expert coming to your orphanage today?" Huachanyan shook her head, then thought about it, and then said immediately, "I just heard from Dean Lu that the big boss of our orphanage is coming to inspect. Everyone has been waiting to greet the big boss early in the morning." Huakan's eyes flashed with deep thought, and then he thought about how his niece was about to beat those children. Could it be that he was met by this big boss, who happened to be an expert, so he took care of Yan's family? He then thought of Lu Yang giving money so readily and generously, and now that he thought about it, it felt even more abnormal. How can anyone who has been blackmailed still say to you with a smile that if the money is not enough, he will go back and get it? It must be because the big boss injured his Yan that he asked Lu Yang to generously give them money for medical treatment. This must be the case. Judging from Huakan's ability to guess these things, it seems that he is still a little smart, otherwise, he would not be able to become a village hegemon. After Huakan's reminder, Huachanyan thought about it and decided that this was the only possibility. With tears in her eyes, she asked Huakan, "Uncle, if this is really done by the big boss, what should I do now?" Huakan's face was gloomy, looking very scary. He waved his hand directly, "Let's go. Go back and settle the accounts with them. Anyone who dares to touch me, Huakan, I don't think their orphanage will continue to open." The doctors and nurses at the Municipal People's Hospital breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Huakan and his group of 4 people leaving angrily. These plague gods are finally gone. Shen Tianxing had expected it early on that Huakan, Huachanyan, and the others would come back to settle accounts with the orphanage. Huachanyan's hand is the hole she sealed. Except for her and Zi-11, no one can understand her unique aura-ake appointment technique. When Huakan and Huachanyan returned to the orphanage, it was already after 8 o'clock in the evening. Huakan directly called a group of villagers and surrounded the orphanage. He stared at Lu Yang fiercely and shouted at Lu Yang, "Dean Lu, we have gone to the county hospital and the city hospital for examination. Our Yan's hand was injured by someone from your orphanage. You hand over that person quickly, otherwise I will make things worse and call the police to make your orphanage notorious. Let me see how you can do good things then. That's right, hand the person over quickly. Hand the people over. Hand the people over." After hearing Huakan's words, Shen Tianxing stepped out slowly. Huakan, Huachanyan, and other villagers looked at the girl in front of them with long hair reaching her waist, skin as smooth as gelatin, and as beautiful as a fairy. She walked out with lotus steps. Her aura was as ethereal as dust. For a moment, they all felt, he looked at her blankly, speechless. Shen Tianxing glanced at them lightly, and a terrifying coercion poured out from her body, directed towards Hua Kun, Hua Chenyan, and those who worked for Hua Kun's cheering villagers pressed him past. Hua Kun, Hua Chenyan, and the villagers instantly felt an energy that seemed to be destroying the world, pressing down on them like Mount Tai. How could ordinary people like them resist a force that weighed more than 1,000 kilograms? Hua Kun, Hua Chenyan, and the other villagers could not bear the heavy pressure. They were pressed to the ground one by one and could not get up again. They felt that there was a murderous aura that was tightly locked on them. It seemed that if they did anything wrong, Shen Tianxing would kill them with just a thought. Hua Kun and Hua Chenyan, who were the first to bear the brunt, were so suppressed by this pressure that their internal organs ached, and they spurted out a mouthful of blood. Their eyes turned black, stars appeared in their eyes, and they almost fainted. At this time, Hua Kun and Hua Chenyan could not understand that the big boss of the orphanage, this beautiful girl who was as beautiful as a fairy, was simply someone they could not afford to offend. With just a few moves, she could completely destroy them. She is not only an expert. Moreover, she is still the strongest among experts. Hua Kun and Hua Chenyan are now so regretful that their intestines are green. How could they provoke such a little witch? Several villagers with weak willpower were frightened to death by Shen Tianxing's pressure. Wave after wave of stinky smell spread all around, but those people around them seemed to be completely unaware of it. They only had worried and fearful expressions on their faces, fearing that they would die here today. They don't dare anymore. If anything happens to Hua Kun in the future, they will definitely not get involved. Seeing that they were almost fainting from fear, Shen Tianxing slowly withdrew his pressure. She asked calmly, Hua Chenyan, as a nurse at the orphanage, actually tortured these children. Compared with the pain she inflicted on these children, I only gave her a small punishment and did not send her to the police station. It's already cheap enough for her. Hua Chenyan's whole body was in pain now. When she heard Shen Tianxing's words, she crawled in front of Shen Tianxing like a dog and kowtowed to her, "Little fairy, please, please spare me. Please send me away quickly, go to the police station. I would rather go to the police station than suffer this." Woo.